experiencing life after winning a $50 million lottery. First tier winner. Tuesday evening. You stand in a gas station. You've just finished a 10-hour shift. Too lazy to cook, you grab a bag of chips and a drink. You can't afford to eat out. This financial hardship has been going on for months. Rent goes up again in January. Your car desperately needs new brake pads, but they cost $400, so you press the pedal harder, silently praying nothing goes wrong. You only have $263 in your checking account. Today is January's, number 9. Every time you shop, you silently calculate in your mind. That bag of chips is $4.29. The drink is $2.19. You can still afford it, just barely. The lottery jackpot has accumulated to $400 million. You don't usually touch this stuff. You tell yourself it's a tax levied on those bad at math. But tonight, a feeling wells up inside you, not hope, but something more desperate than hope. It's like being drowning, and someone throws you a rope that's obviously too short, but you still reach for it. You hand over $2 and tell the cashier, "Give me a unclear." The ballot is printed out. No one even glances at you. No one notices you at the gas station. You're practically invisible, the kind of invisibility that belongs to the economically distressed. You fold the lottery ticket, stuff it into your wallet, between a gas receipt and an old gift card that's probably already worthless. You immediately forget about it. You return to the apartment where the landlord refuses to fix the ceiling. You curl up on the sofa, munching on potato chips, watching a show you've already rewatched twice because you've unsubscribed from all video streaming platforms except one. You watch TV and then fall asleep. That ticket lay in his wallet on the kitchen counter all night, unaware of its significance. You, too, were bewildered. 2 days later, you sat on the sofa, scrolling through your phone, saw the winning numbers, compared them to your ticket, glanced at the screen, and checked them again. Your hands began to tremble, your vision narrowed into a narrow B shape, and at the end, the 16 numbers matched perfectly. You didn't scream or jump, you sat motionless for a long time. Your brain was working like never before, trying to process an amount so vast it lacked any reference points. $412 million. This is the number you read aloud before bed. It sounds unbelievable, like a scene from a movie. You hold a piece of paper in your hand. Its value is equivalent to your earnings in 10,000 years of work. That night, you toss and turn, lying in bed staring at the ceiling, performing calculations that even you yourself find unworthy of. You stuff the lottery ticket into a book on the bookshelf, then move it to a sealed bag in the refrigerator, then take it out and put it in the glove box, then take it back inside. You begin to fear losing a thin piece of paper. You've never worried about losing a piece of paper like this before. The next morning, you call in sick. You search online for what to do after winning the lottery. The first result is, hire a lawyer before doing anything. The second is, never tell anyone. The third is a string of bankruptcies, murders, or suicides. List of award winners. You close the page. You sat in the kitchen. You were a millionaire now. Even going out felt daunting. Second tier of award winners. You need to find a lawyer. Not your cousin who handled the property transfer. Not the one on the highway billboard. What you need is a lawyer specializing in high net worth estate trusts and asset preservation. You found one in the city. His office was in a building you'd never set foot in before. On the 22nd floor, his hourly rate was $600. 2 weeks ago, that amount would have made you dizzy. Now it's meaningless. You signed the engagement agreement. He started talking about concepts you'd never heard of. Revocable trusts, irrevocable trusts, limited liability company structure, confidential trusts, charitable balance trusts, family limited partnerships. He sketched diagrams on the whiteboard. You nodded repeatedly, pretending to understand. You only grasped about 30%. The part you can control is this. If you step into the lottery redemption center in your own name, your life will collapse. For most of the week, your name will be in the public record. Reporters will camp out at your door. Strangers will come knocking. People you haven't contacted for 15 years will show up. Your lawyer sets up a trust to claim the prize on your behalf. Your name won't be on the headlines for a while. You and your lawyer go to the Lottery Commission's office building. The building is unremarkable, with mineral wool ceilings and standard government carpets. The lady behind the counter scans your lottery ticket and face, her expression unchanging. She's used to this kind of thing. You fill out forms for 2 hours. You choose to receive the prize in one lump sum. Almost everyone chooses this. The $412 million after a one-time withdrawal discount becomes $2.06 billion. Then, federal taxes take 37%, and state taxes are negotiated at 6% to 8%, depending on your place of residence. Your $412 million is now reduced to approximately $118 million. Your lawyer had explained this to you beforehand, but you still feel like you've been robbed. You're furious because you lost $294 million in just 72 hours. You've become the kind of person who's depressed about having only $118 million left. This transformation took less than a week. The third target's money arrived. You saw it on the screen. The number looked unreal, like a typo, as if someone accidentally pressed a few extra zeros. But it was definitely there, and then everyone knew. You had told 3 people, your mother, your brother, and your best friend. You told them not to tell anyone. Your mother told his sister, and his sister revealed. The church group was given to you. Your brother told his wife. His wife posted some vague posts on social media about blessings and abundance, almost like a press release. Your best friend kept quiet. You'll remember this. Your phone starts ringing incessantly. Unknown numbers, people you haven't contacted since high school, a cousin you only met once at a funeral, an ex you broke up with 7 years ago, a colleague's husband. He claims to have a fantastic business opportunity and wants to discuss it with you. They all want something. No one will say it directly. They congratulate you, say they're happy for you, say you deserve it. Then they pause, waiting for you to speak first. Some don't even wait, going straight to the point. Can you help me return my blood bag? Can you pay my mother's medical bills? Can you fund my restaurant? Can you buy me a car? The requests are endless, some heartbreaking, some shameless. Every request carries an unspoken presupposition. You owe the world because the world gave you this money. You start blocking calls, change your number, and stop going to your old haunts because every interaction now carries an undercurrent of money. One Friday night, you go to that familiar little bar. The bartender, who used to joke with you, is now completely different. He's overly friendly, cautiously so, as if you're no longer a regular customer but a VIP. The men at the pool table scrutinize you. You can read the calculation in their eyes. You leave early and never return. The emails are worse. Unpleasant handwritten letters from strangers tell their stories. A wealthy man from out of state. He said his son urgently needed a kidney transplant, but the insurance wouldn't cover it. A man wrote a 4-page description of how his house was consumed by fire. He only needed $30,000 to start over. A church you've never been to sent you a brochure about a church building fund, along with a handwritten note. God has placed you in a situation where help is needed. You read every letter, unable to control yourself. Each letter was a tiny wound. You felt guilty throwing them away, yet kept them felt like an unbearable burden. There was no proper way to respond. You are still the same person you were months ago, but no one believes it, not even yourself. The 4th level of the spendthrift. You bought a property, not one you actually needed, but one you dreamed of when you were broke. Browsing properties at 2 a.m. for entertainment, a 6-bedroom house. 5 bathrooms, a swimming pool, a 3-car garage, a kitchen bigger than your old apartment. You pace around on night watch, your footsteps echoing. It's too quiet, too spacious. You'll never use that formal dining room, nor that guest room. What you bought is a monument to a dream you couldn't afford before. Now you can, but it's just emptiness. You bought a car, a Mercedes and a pickup truck for yourself, because you've always wanted to buy your mother a SUV. You bought clothes in shops where a single jacket cost more than your previous monthly rent. You bought watches, electronics, furniture, and art pieces you know nothing about but are told are excellent investments. You flew first class for the first time. The seats reclined into beds. The flight attendants addressed you by your last name. You. Enjoying steak at 35,000 feet. Sipping champagne where each bottle costs more than your old car's monthly mortgage payment. A black sedan awaits you upon landing. You check into hotels where a standard room costs $800 a night and a suite $3,000. Naturally, you choose the suite. You dine at restaurants where prices aren't listed on the menu because people there never ask. Spending money feels justified. You've spent 15 years doing physically and mentally exhausting work. You've earned this right to live. You convince yourself this. The problem is, deserved consumption and compulsive consumption feel no different. Buying a $200,000 car, the dopamine rush lasts only about 3 days. After that, it's just a car. Then you crave the next thing. The satisfaction from each purchase diminishes, while the cost remains the same or even increases. You're chasing a financial promise that you can't keep. Your spending rate seems sustainable because the numbers in your account are so large that your brain doesn't detect the shrinking. A $200,000 car seems insignificant compared to $118 million. $50,000 in weekend spending is like pocket change, working against you in ways you haven't even realized. Your financial advisor will later explain the concept of lifestyle inflation and how your spending balloons to match your wealth and then surpasses it. You haven't reached that point yet, but the trajectory is already set. The fifth level of investors, your lawyer introduces you to a wealth management firm. These people make a living managing money. They wear expensive suits and talk about investment portfolios, diversification, and risk-adjusted returns. They show you charts and recommend investments covering index funds, bonds, real estate, and alternative investments. The investment portfolio. They told you that if you adopted a conservative investment approach and spent modestly, your $118 million would passively generate $4 to $5 million in annual returns. You would never have to work again, your children would never have to work, and neither would your grandchildren. Listening and nodding, you followed their advice and invested some of the money. However, your brother-in-law pitched you a restaurant, your college roommate wanted you to fund his tech startup. Someone you met at a party claimed to be developing beachfront real estate in Costa Rica with amazing returns. You invested in all of them. You invested because it's easier to say yes than no. You invested because the feeling of importance that funder made you feel is something money alone cannot provide. The restaurant closed down after 14 months. The tech startup never launched a product, and the Costa Rican incident. Ultimately, it turned into a fringe scam. You lost $3.2 million on investments that professionals would have rejected in 5 minutes. Your wealth manager warned you, but you didn't listen. You thought having money meant understanding money. These are two completely different things. You learned this lesson in the same way most lottery winners, slowly, expensively, and too late. The sixth level of philanthropy, you started giving. At first, it felt good. You paid off your mother's mortgage, set up an education fund for your son, donated to the children's hospital in your hometown, and wrote checks to charities whose mission you believed in. You felt the money was going for something meaningful. Now, it had a purpose. The local newspaper published a story about your generosity. People called you a philanthropist, and requests for your services skyrocketed. Within a week, your name was on the list of every charity. Your schedule is packed with lavish banquets and fundraising events. An organization you've never heard of hands you a proposal. You attend a dinner party in a black tie. Next to you sits a woman who runs a homeless shelter. She says she needs $200,000 to survive the harsh winter. You write the check that night. The next morning, 3 more organizations come knocking because word has spread. Strangers write to you, describing their plight in details that keep you up at night. A single mother with cancer, a homeless veteran, a teenager needing surgery his family can't afford. Every story is real, every need sincere. And you have the ability to help. This is what breaks you most. You truly can help, so you act. You keep giving until helping becomes an obligation. You give until the joy of giving is replaced by the guilt of not giving enough. On your behalf, you give until you realize a truth no one has ever told you. The suffering in the world cannot be ended by any amount of money. Trying to soothe it will drain you emotionally before it financially exhausts you. You hire a foundation director to manage donations. You create a process application review committee, making decision-making more efficient, but also more indifferent. You go from personally signing checks to operating a bureaucratic structure. The 7th level of isolation. 3 years have passed since you won the lottery. You live in a house behind a gate, drive cars with tinted windows that isolate you from the outside world, and dine at private clubs where membership fees are higher than most people's annual salaries. Your social circle has shrunk to a small group of people, either wealthy, themselves, or employed by you. Your financial advisor, lawyer, accountant, personal assistant, and fitness trainer are your daily contacts. The people who answer your calls. You trust them because you pay them. You're unsure if you still trust anyone you don't pay. Your old friends are gone. Not suddenly, but gradually. You paid for every dinner, every outing, every drink. They let you pay because splitting the bill with a millionaire was awkward. Later, just being with you became awkward. Money created a distance neither of you knew how to bridge. You haven't changed, and neither have they. It was that money that changed the space between you. Your brother no longer calls. You gave him $500,000 to start a business, but it failed. He blames you for not giving more. He says, if you had invested more, you could have salvaged the situation. You said you gave him $500,000. You were both right and both hurt. Neither wants to talk about it anymore. You tried to, interacting with people, but the situation is completely different now. You meet someone, and your first reaction is to speculate. Did they search for you online? Did they know about your wealth? You take a lady out to dinner, and he orders the most expensive dish on the menu. You can't tell if it's something he happens to want, or if he's testing your limits. You go on 3 dates with someone who seems genuine. Finally, his roommate mentions your net worth during brunch, and you realize he knew everything from the beginning. You stop dating, telling yourself it was voluntary. You start seeing a therapist. His hourly rate is $400, but it's worth it. You sit in his consultation room with the woman you paid him to listen to, talking about loneliness. He won't judge you. He can't. You paid for that non-judgment. One day, it suddenly dawns on you. The place that used to be surrounded by relationships is now filled with services and transactions. Everything in your life has a price tag, even things that shouldn't have one. The 8th level of paranoia, someone tries to sue you. A man claims he slipped in your driveway at a party you hosted and is demanding $2 million. This case is utterly absurd. Your lawyer settles it, costing you $80,000 in legal fees and 6 months of anxiety. 2 months later, another person sues you, a business partner from a failed investment, claiming you owe him more. That lawsuit drags on for a year. You settle for $400,000 because going to court is more expensive. Your lawyer tells you this is commonplace for people in your situation. The wealthy are targets of lawsuits. It's become an industry. Some lawyers specialize in finding wealthy defendants and crafting cases where the litigation is more expensive than the settlement. You're now permanently on that list. You will be sued again. It's not a question of whether, but when and how much. You installed a security system. Cameras are installed throughout your property, sensors, and a reinforced front door. You hired a security consultant. He toured your entire house, pointing out weaknesses you'd never considered. The gap between the first-floor window railing and the Suzuki trim. Your predictable daily routine. He suggested hiring a full-time security guard. You hesitated for a moment, then hired one. Now there's a stranger standing guard in your driveway 12 hours a day, protecting you from other strangers. You received threats, mostly vague. Emails from strangers, claiming they knew where you lived. A letter with no return address, describing your car and your morning routine. Your security consultant said, most of these threats were harmless. Mostly, but not all. You bought a new life with that ticket. Part of that new life was having to look back every time you walked to your car. 5 years after the 9th floor liquidation, you and your wealth manager sat down for the annual review. Your $118 million in cash was down to $41 million. You stared at that number and blinked, and asked him to repeat it, $41 million. You squandered $77 million in 5 years. Real estate, vehicles, failed investments, lawsuits, gifts, donations, lifestyle. The tax burden of this lifestyle. Your wealth manager presented a prediction. At this rate, you will completely deplete your liquid assets in 4 years. You don't believe him. The amount is too large to disappear. $41 million is still a fortune. Most people will never see a fraction of that amount in their lifetime. But you spend like someone with $118 million, not someone with $41 million. Habits are ingrained. The house has a mortgage and property taxes. The car has insurance and maintenance. Employees need to be loyal. The foundation carries commitments. The monthly cost of this lifestyle is enough to bankrupt most small businesses. You try to cut back. You sell your vacation home at a loss because the market has turned. You fire your security guard and cancel your personal assistant, but the main house is still there. Because you are insolvent. You bought at a high price. The value has shrunk. Your debts exceed your limits. Your accountant tells you that a real estate transaction 2 years ago had tax risks and was poorly structured. You owe the IRS $2.8 million in taxes, plus penalties and interest, all without your knowledge. You trusted the people you hired. They either didn't know or knew, but didn't tell you. You fired your accountant and hired someone else. He discovered more problems. Mismanagement of the foundation, non-compliant fund disbursements, and compliance issues that could trigger an audit. Every layer you uncover reveals another layer of corruption. You built a financial kingdom on ignorance and trust. Both are collapsing. People around you start leaving, not all at once. The financial advisor managing your money jumped ship. Another company sent a polite email. Your lawyer transferred you to a junior. Your partner, because your account size is no longer enough to support his hourly rates, has stopped answering your calls. Those who were retained based on salary are leaving one by one because compensation has become uncertain. You watch as the newly formed structure dismantles piece by piece, leaving nothing beneath it. No old friends to call, no job to return to, no marketable skills. You haven't worked for 5 years. Your resume is a canyon-like blank. You're 40, witnessing $118 million vanish, and you don't know how to stop the decline. 8 years have passed since you won the 10th level phantom lottery. The money isn't just mostly gone, it's completely gone. The last bit went to tax fees, lawyer settlements, and debts incurred to maintain a dead lifestyle. You sold your house, your car, your watches, art, and furniture. All the items you bought with joy now carry a sense of despair. Hoping to sell, your home has fallen. The numbers on the road feel completely different from when it was rising. Now you rent an apartment, smaller than your pre-winning home. You drive an old car with 90,000 miles on it. You work in a delivery warehouse because that's where the first response came. Every day, you stand on the concrete floor for 9 hours, sorting packages, your back and knees aching. You do the same work as before you won, only now you're 42 instead of 35. Your body is truly feeling the difference. Your colleagues know nothing about that windfall. You don't mention when people in the warehouse talk about the lottery, fantasizing about what they'd do after winning. You remain silent, just continuing to sort packages. Your mother's house is still paid off, the only thing you don't regret. But the way he looks at you is different now. He watched you rise and fall in less than a decade, watched you become a stranger to him, and then back to someone he knew but couldn't help. He loves you. He also worries about you in a way he's never seen before. Before you had money, you were at peace. You struggled, but now that peace is gone, he can see something behind your eyes, a weariness that sleep can't dispel. Your brother still won't talk to you. The $500,000 you gave him wasn't enough. Then the money ran out, and you couldn't give any more. He resents this. He told your mother you were selfish. You heard this through a relative, and it feels like a stone is lodged in your chest. You've donated millions, giving all the way until you're penniless. And your own brother uses the word selfish to describe you. Your best friend, the one you've never revealed to anyone, still answers your calls. He's the only one. He never mentions money, never. On Sundays, you sit in his living room watching football, feeling almost normal, but there's always a sense of loss. He owns his own home and has a retirement account. You once had a life built up over time through stable work and careful decision-making. That path you followed was shattered by that lottery ticket, and you can never return. You still owe the IRS $340,000 in penalties, which you're paying off in installments. Now, every year when you file your taxes, you're on edge, like someone who's been burned. Your credit score is in the 500 cents. You can't get a credit card, a car loan, or a decent apartment unless you have a cosigner. Your financial situation is worse than before you won the lottery. Before, you had $23,000 in debt and a job that covered it. Now you're burdened with 6-figure debt and a job that barely covers rent. You went from poverty to immense wealth, then back to poverty, but the second time was worse because you know exactly what you've lost. The first time you were poor, you were clueless. This time, you know perfectly well. You understand the feeling of being in first class. You understand the path. The feeling of entering a restaurant without looking at the price tags. Understanding the feeling of getting people back in minutes. That awareness itself is torture. You can't forget the tactile sensation of money. You can only live with the memory while losing it. You occasionally drive past that gas station. The one where you bought your ticket looks exactly the same. The same fluorescent lights. The same lottery display behind the counter. You watch people go in, buy their quick pick tickets, and then fold that tiny spark of hope into their wallets. As you walk out, you want to tell them something. You want to rush in, grab their shoulders, and say a few heartfelt words. But what will you say? Don't buy anything they won't listen to. Be careful when making wishes. They'll laugh at you. You'll sound like a madman, a penniless person driving a beat-up car, warning strangers not to expect to get rich quick. They'll look at you with pity, and worst of all, you deserve it. The truth is, you have nothing that can make them. If we're talking about preparation, money is arguably the simplest part. Money is simple. What's complex is everything money does to the world around you, without warning. It rearranges every relationship, replaces trust with transactions, gives you everything you once desired, yet takes away what you didn't even realize you needed. Then money leaves, and you stand amidst the ruins, receipt in hand, staring at the life you've destroyed with your own hands. Meanwhile, somewhere, someone is standing at a gas station counter, handing over $2 for a lottery ticket. They're imagining houses, cars, freedom, imagining the expression on their mother's face, sketching out a carefree life. They're completely unaware of what they're truly wishing for. They're completely unaware that the ticket in their hand isn't a gift, but a fuse. Everything they touch will eventually be burned. They will understand. They always will understand. The cycle repeats itself.